Thank you all. Thanks for having the opportunity to be up here speaking to you guys. It was actually quite fortunate that the previous speaker covered the financial aspects of Bitcoin, which most of people, generally the news and media and general public, is mostly concerned with. Though I'm using that as the backbone to my discussion, which is covering the aspect of Bitcoin, which most people seem to have ignored. And that for me covers probably over 90% of the use of Bitcoin. The financial aspect and its use within our current systems is only a very minor part. So during this conversation, hopefully I can give you an insight as to what Bitcoin really is and what it can really do for us and future technology that are coming along our way. Just to give you a background, I'm from CoinSource. I joined the team in April last year. Since then, we've been looking for ways to introduce to the market ratings and verification so that the general person doesn't have to go through, different forums and all the different texts and fraud and, all the headaches that they need to deal with. So the trust index verification is a way of us promoting a coin on the basis of requirements that we check through it prior to giving them the allocated stars per the platform. CSX is a exchange which adopted this verification process, and they display it throughout the platform as a way of letting customers know that are trading what the coins are and what their verification ratings were. So that's some of the services we do. So the other aspect which I really wanted to get into was proof of honor. This was a way that I wanted to award those in the industry that were hidden in the shadows. So a lot of times the news is concerned with platforms that are not really being developed by really skilled developers, rather they have large backing. So my aim through this was to contact the communities and find out ways where we can target and select the people that are really behind the innovation, and they are working every day towards a better goal. At the end of this, we had 25 nominated members who were selected by the community, and through this, after 2,500 votes and a lot more, which we broke down depending on the quality of the vote, we had a very, very surprising attendance from people around the world that took part in this to designate and elect the person that they believe is the candidate. So the criteria was select the person in the crypto industry. It doesn't have to be a developer, anyone really, that you believe has done something to honor the Bitcoin principles and the philosophies that it has to offer. So at the end of this search, after contacting almost all the continents on the planet and having a lot of people come through, we found out Ivan Duffield was by far the most nominated person voted for, and he is responsible for creation of Darkcoin and also one of the elements missing in Bitcoin, which was the instant transaction, which he happened to solve. I think that's a great accomplishment by a developer, because instant transactions really speed up the world and everyday use of Bitcoin, which is something he was able to do. So moving past that and getting into the aspect of blockchain and what blockchain can do for people besides the financial aspect and besides the money aspect. So there's a few things that it can offer to do. Since its birth, Bitcoin has been heavily targeted by ASIC miners and mining companies that dominate the distribution of the coin, and by that they can control the price, they can manipulate the market, they can do a lot of things. So the best way is to control it from the moment that it's coming into the market, rather than wait till it's in the market and then try and control it, which we've tried to do with fiat currencies, and it doesn't work very well. So the distribution method is very, very important. So, two examples in this, Maggie, which controls it by having a CPU only. So if you bring in big machinery, it will drop down the payout to a point where it's not worth mining anymore. So it actually promotes fair mining by force, though I don't think it's a bad thing. And then the other one is proof of capacity. This is something that came up and it's been gaining a lot more attention. The reason is you can use your hard drive at home to mine for coins. This is remarkable because prior to this, if you were dealing with Bitcoin or script-based or SHA-based coins, or most of them really, you would need to go purchase a graphics card. If you don't know how to use it, you don't know which graphics card to get, it's going to overheat, you got to leave it outside, you got to pay for a lot of things that you don't really need. Proof of capacity eliminates those, and it makes the graphics card mining obsolete because you can use your hard drive. Everyone has a hard drive. As long as you've got a computer with free space, you can use this method. So this is excellent to see the evolution of mining and the evolution of how things are distributed amongst members. This is just a graph to show you the Maggie distribution that favors network stability. So the moment that you introduce heavy machinery to try and dominate the network, the payout drops to a point where it's not profitable for you anymore. So the only way that you can really profit from it is by following the rules or by bringing more users rather than one user that has a heavy backing. Other aspects are decentralized queue and research. So prior to this, you have Stanford developed protein folding, which you can contribute to. The aspect that was missing was the reward. So a lot of people did want to contribute by putting their computer power towards research and finding cures. The issue was there was no reward. So they would do it out of the goodness of their heart. Now other people, besides people that were in the folding industry, can come in and be rewarded for something that is genuinely good. There's different examples of this, and this is like putting the blockchain to use that it should be. This is beyond the currency aspect, and it's much, much more important because it allows you to look for cures and help solve problems that we're dealing with every day in a decentralized manner. And other aspects are, for example, Gridcoin. It will put the mining power of its uses can be put towards, for example, finance analysis. And this is very important because it actually makes a decentralized finance analysis that you can then use the same technique for university research and other aspects of research. What you got to understand is basically the mining power can be put towards any use, and because it's so heavy, it's so powerful, you can use it for research, cancer. You can use it for a lot of different things. So it doesn't need to be just there hashing away at useless things. You can actually put it towards very, very, very useful elements that would benefit our society. Moving past that is cloud storage. So prior to this, we had to deal with Google Drive, Dropbox, and iCloud and such, all of which have been hacked, by the way. The reason is we have a central point of trust. When you have a central point of trust, there are issues. You have to believe that they're going to look after your best interest, in which case it doesn't really happen. What cloud storage in a decentralized way allows you to do is, you have a peer-to-peer network. So if I want to download a file traditionally from, let's say, Microsoft, it will find the closest data center to me, and it will link me to that data center, and therefore I can download the file. In a peer-to-peer network, not only can I download from the data center, but anyone else around me. So my neighbor might have the same file as I do, and based on his geolocation, it might be better for me to connect and download from him rather than some other organization. You can encrypt the files and back them up in such a way that I will be guaranteed that my neighbor does have the original file. It also offers you to have redundancy based on your own will. So you can have a file, for example, that's not very important be uploaded to the network and only copied 3 times. And then you can deal with, for example, government-based documents that may need to be backed up 50 or 60 times. And this is distributed through home computers. And you may question how can this compete with existing cloud storage platforms such as Dropbox, which use servers and Amazon-based servers and which are catered for multi-million-dollar data servers. Well, the real thing is that is the only data center. So if you compare that to cloud storage versus your hard drive at home, there's a very, very big untapped market there that could be used. And this is the power of people. So this resembles truly what we are in comparison to centralized organizations. And in comparison, we are much, much greater. And if we are able to tap into that space without introducing a central authority, that's remarkable in my opinion. And then you have decentralized Wall Street. So the current issue with Wall Street and most stock options, stock trading is that you can do naked short selling, which is you don't have the stock where you sell it. By the time people find out, the company's crashed and, few people have made a lot of money, the rest are there with a bankrupt business and with shares that they can never sell again. So, I spoke to Patrick Bryant, the CEO of Overstock, about 4 weeks ago, and in my conversation with him, he described his passion to be able to introduce a platform that removes the middleman. So if you look at it as like Amazon comes into the middle process and extracts a lot of money out of that, which not only hurts me, it hurts the business, it hurts the whole economy. So in a way, you can look at it as like they are providing a platform where you can find products, but really they are using that platform to extract money both from you and the merchant. Patrick Bryan's mentality is very, very different in the sense that he doesn't want to get in the middle. He wants you to deal with your merchant, and he wants to almost be invisible. He doesn't want the fees, he doesn't want the heavy fees, he wants to be you operating it and you dealing with the customers. And I really, really appreciate that. So you can understand that the concept of Bitcoin would have naturally resonated very well with his mentality, because it is the very same thing. It's about removing the middle person and being transparent. So if you apply these principles to the stock market, you can already see that companies will be able to go public much easier without having to deal with bureaucracy and all this paperwork and Wall Street traders trying to break down their entire company. It is a much better approach. The fact that the blockchain can display any information in a transparent way, and that it cannot be broken or cheated, is a very, very important factor, and you can apply this same principle to any industry, really. Moving forward, then you have decentralized governance. These are much, much bigger issues, and Bitcoin is worth $200 today, tomorrow is worth 250. Oh my God, my life is over. These are real life examples of Bitcoin, applying to my life, to your life, to your children's life, and those that you know. BitNation, for example, has the ability to provide land ownership registered to the blockchain. This is remarkable. If you ask the current existing government or institutions to do this, first of all, they don't really care. I've been told majority of the wars in Afghanistan, Africa, and a lot of countries in similar nature are due to disputes risen from land ownership. So I could say, hey, I'll sell it to you. 2 weeks later, I'll sell it to someone else. I'll keep selling it. This is a real life example of double spending, the very thing Bitcoin was designed to prevent and destroy. So by doing it through the blockchain, I can no longer say, yeah, I sold it to this guy and I'm going to sell it to that guy, because the moment it's registered on the blockchain, that's it, it's final. So you can already reduce war using the blockchain. You can reduce disruptions within countries that really need it. So that's really remarkable. And then you can register your business. In countries in Africa, it can take up to 3 months to register a business, which is ridiculous. I mean, what does it really require to register a business? You put in your name, they put it through a computer, 10 minutes later it should pop up. There is no real need for it to take 3 months, but they do that to slow down, they slow everything down. Everything has been slowed down. So the point of blockchain is it speeds things up, it's transparent, it gets rid of the middleman, and it really makes things fair. Another purpose of decentralized governance is like, if you have 20 million people in a country, you can't really expect them to all follow the same rules. It's unnatural. It's unnatural to want a whole nation to follow the same rules and follow the same nation of policies and rights, because I'm different, you're different, everyone's different. I understand that we're all human beings, but we have different needs and goals. So by decentralizing governments, you can allow people to select what they want and what appeals best to them. The other important aspect is the universal basic income. This is something that I think the gentleman that was speaking before. This is something that Bitcoin has made possible through your interactions to the network. So merchants coming in and saying, all right, we're going to pay tax on our products, and other people going and buying from people that pay their tax. This tax can then be put into the system to provide the entire economy of that network with an income. That's remarkable. It's like an idea that was brought up in the 1700s, which is 200 years ago, or more than 200 years ago, now made possible by Bitcoin, providing people in that network. Think of it as like the mining aspect of Bitcoin. The miners get paid through the transaction fees for the work they do. This is pretty much earning money by letting the computer or the digital world do its work. And that's remarkable. Other applications are removing processing fees. So current institutions, so Visa, MasterCard, and all these other, payment processing gateways, they take a lot of money from us during our process, which really shouldn't happen in the digital world. In the digital world, there is no real, physical work being done. The money doesn't need to go from the bank to the truck, and then from the truck to someone else's house, deposited into their account. No such thing occurs. So there's no reason why Visa or MasterCard or anyone really should charge any fees. And we've come to believe that that's a normal thing, but it really isn't. Bitcoin removes this. It makes it transparent. It really puts it in front of us that we don't need processing fees. Why is that? Because you don't get hacked with Bitcoin. Obviously, exchanges get hacked, but that's a centralization issue. At a personal level, Bitcoin itself cannot be hacked. It can't be cheated. It can't be double spent. These remove billions of dollars of tolls that are put into our economy every year by companies like Visa, MasterCard, who refuse to upgrade their security systems or even look at a better way of dealing with money. Obviously, if they did such a thing, they would lose a lot of their revenue, which would hurt their business. So it's understandable. So, blockchain is paving the way for platforms such as this to allow merchants to really deal with their customers without worrying about fees and, all these heavy charges, and really allowing them to concentrate on their customers. And then you can have coupons and gift cards introduced on the same system, which users can trade and sell to each other. And if it expires, the value goes back into their wallet. And why shouldn't it? Why should we lose our coupon value just because it expired? All of these old mentalities need to go, and they have no place anymore. And then you got to look at the broad spectrum of the situation, which is centralization versus decentralization. And I think that's the most important aspect of what Bitcoin can offer, rather than the currency aspect. The centralization aspect is clear. We've had problems with fraud, hacks, and a lot of other issues. And the main reason is that we have come to allow ourselves to give the responsibility that we should carry ourselves to other people. And this is a very big problem, because the moment you do that is the moment that you have let them decide for you what is correct and what isn't. Bitcoin and the technology and the philosophy and the mentality that it carries allows you to bypass that. It allows you to exist as an individual, to make your own decisions and be fully transparent with it. It endorses trust, because once you remove the possibility of someone causing fraud or cheating you, you no longer have to worry about that. You can worry about the more important things, like expanding your business and meeting new people and exchanging information. And the community support is something that I think is remarkable to experience, because you go into a coin community and it is backed by a leader, and the leader is therefore backed by the community, and so on. And you don't really see this in real life. I mean, to go into a forum and ask a question, and you have 20 people jump on board and just try and help you out. And this is something that they don't get paid to do. It's not a corporation. They don't have any liabilities, and they don't need to do it, but yet they still do. The other aspect of centralization is, in the digital world, really, it's like, by the time you walk outside, I put up 3 tools on your way outside, and I go, hey, I need €5 here, I need €5 here, I need €5 here. By the time you walked outside, you've paid €15. But the issue there is you didn't really need to pay it. These road tools don't need to exist. So centralization produces unnecessary roadblocks, and I really do believe in that. And they all need to go, because it doesn't need to exist anymore. And we have seen examples of why and how they can be prevented in the future. Another aspect is the regulations and the laws that are coming up around Bitcoin. The same way people fought internet freedom and internet, trying to fight the fact that the government was trying to censor internet, the same mentality should be applied to Bitcoin. I don't see why it's not being dealt with in the same way. Because the moment you apply the same principles that have infested and really hurt the current economical balance of our nature to the Bitcoin world, you're going to have the same results. Bitcoin cannot provide you something different if you're going to apply the same rules and regulations as you have been with your current financial system. So really, on the bigger scale of things, people need to move away, I guess, from the currency aspect and move into what it can do for people, what it can do for businesses, what it can do for merchant and client relationships, and what it can do for the world in general. If you apply the same thing, votes wouldn't need to be doubted. You can post up a link to the blockchain, and here's the votes of the 2015 USA candidates, and everyone will be able to see it for themselves. There's no way to cheat it, and there's no way to bypass it. So, and it removes the heavy fees of paperwork and all these other stuff. So you can see the blockchain technology adapted and implemented within different platforms in different technological fields, and its benefits really. So that's what I wanted to kind of display to you guys, and hope you get an understanding that it is really much more than a currency. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions at all?
There was a lot to take in. I mean, you give it as a helicopter view.
Yeah,
it's possible.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is you have developers come into the industry, or someone else that come into the industry, and they get blindsided. So they focus too much on their own category. For example, you might come in from a law background and you see just the law background. It really helps to see like the entire field, and It gives you a better understanding, and that's why, you know, today when you see the media, they constantly talk about Bitcoin's fall and its price went down. But really, Bitcoin hasn't been falling; it's thriving, if anything. The money dollar value is you know, irrelevant in this process, because if you remove the dollar value, is Bitcoin thriving? Yes, there's startups popping left, right, and center, investments in the millions being put in. You know, people, look how many more people are, you know, constantly coming to these, and it's growing. So that's what the news should really be focused on, and they found a very small part of it, which is the currency aspect, which can be very easily manipulated, and they just try and put people's minds onto that, but it is much more than that, you know. And it really hurts me when I hear people say, oh, Bitcoin's doing bad, the value, and I'm like, that's 5% of it. It's like saying, you know, the internet is worth $20 or something like that. It's just like much more than that. So, like, yep, sorry.
Can you please explain again this general basic income?
Sure. General basic income, the universal basic income was, I forgot the guy's full name, but it was Thomas something in the 1700s. And his idea was that a system should be able to, you know, he envisioned a system where it is run by computers, for example, and people don't need to work. The work generated through the computer's interaction would be sufficient to provide a salary to the people, which sounded crazy at the time to a lot of people and economists, and, you know, especially, and I can understand that. But Bitcoin has made it possible because, for example, a guy came up with the actual blockchain version of it, resilience.me. I can send you the link afterwards. His concept is, I want to pay tax, I will deal with companies that pay tax, and therefore I will get an income from these the tax interaction. So in this network of corporations and consumers, for example, I will locate only corporations that pay their tax, because I want to receive basic income. So I'll just imagine an artificial network. This hasn't been made yet.
Two questions.
Yeah.
Sorry. Because the problem is, of course, you don't have, let's say, an identity. When it's a blockchain,
Yeah.
you can always copy your ID. So you can say, I'm 5 persons, just register an email address.
Yeah, but it would totally depend on your interaction and transactions within the network.
So you need to have some kind of proof of identity or something? Or how would it work? I mean, you could call it a tax, but of course it would be a voluntary tax.
Yeah, it's fully voluntary.